So this would be O, this would be A, and this would be H. So this should have been a cosine problem. So what would you get if you used cosine? Nope. Not 22.5. 19.5. Is that what you said? Oh, my bad. 19.5. That's correct. Okay. Number 9 should have been tangent. So what do we get if we use tangent? 6.5. And then 10 should have been sine. What do you get? 12.6. So this was really kind of like your bell work, warm up. We've been doing this. You should be able to do those 4 problems. Hopefully no problems. Minor problems. Okay. You should have gotten all of them wrong, hopefully. Yeah. 8. 8 was 19.5. Okay, so let's start with the new stuff. So this is number 102, right? Is that 102? 102? Or 101? What is this? This is 101. So 101. So this is new. You're going to need a calculator. Now, when we're using sine, cosine, and tangent, all we've done so far, just like the 4 problems you just did, those were finding missing side length. So you sine, cosine, tangent to find missing sides. If you need to find an angle, which is what we're going to be doing now, if you look, we don't have the angle is the x. We're going to have to use this thing called the inverse of sine, inverse of cosine, and inverse of tangent. So it looks like a power of -1. It's called the power of -1 is really just an x. It looks like an exponent, but it's just the way it's written as inverse. So you are still x. You're standing there. We're still using SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So what do we have here? Sine, cosine, tangent. Sine. So we're going to say sine of x, because we don't know the angle, equals 15 over 24. Opposite over hypotenuse. So now the way that this is written, so just follow along, we're going to get x by itself by taking the inverse of sine. So it's sine to the -1. You're not dividing by sine. We are doing sine of -1, and 15 over 24 stays exactly the same. So in your calculator, you're just plugging this into your calculator. If you look at your calculator, you have sine, cosine, tangent. Does anybody see where sine of -1 is? On the top. So how do you use these top buttons? You have to use shift. So what we're going to do first is we're going to divide 15 by 24. We're basically going to get a decimal. And then what we're going to do once we have that decimal, we're going to press shift and then sine. So that's my angle inside the triangle. So how would I round that? What is the loss? 38.7. The one that looks like this says inverse trig ratios and finding missing angle. So many papers. Okay, let's do number 2. Same thing. You are the angle. We just don't know it yet. We don't know the angle. So I have 2 things. What 2 things do I have? I have hypotenuse and I have adjacent. So that's going to be what? Cosine of x. What's my fraction going to be? 8 over 11. And then you're really finding the angle. Anytime you're finding an angle, you are just taking the inverse. So it's just a new button. So we're going to say cosine inverse 8 over 11. So in your calculator, you have to do 8 divided by 11 first. Press equals because you're going to need that like fraction or like that decimal. And then we're going to press shift cosine. How do we feel? Good. Easy peasy. So it's a degree. So technically I'm putting the little bubbles because it's inside the triangle. We're finding the angle. Okay, let's do number 3. So if you're the x, do I have sine, cosine, tangent? Tangent. And then what's my fraction? 20 over 37 because it's opposite over adjacent. And then we got to get x by itself. So we're taking the inverse. Handy dandy calculator. 20 divided by 37. Press equals shift 10. Yeah? Okay. So take a second. Try 4, 5, and 6. Are you ready to go with them? Because you were playing the phone. You haven't even copied down the one that I did for you. Okay, so for 4, you should have used cosine because you have adjacent, which should have been 18, hypotenuse, which should have been 23. So when you do the inverse, what do we get? 38.5. Okay. For number 5, you should have used sine because if you're the angle, you have opposite and hypotenuse. This one looks a little weird to people. People think that, I don't know, this one's adjacent, I guess. Or maybe hypotenuse, but this is sine, opposite over hypotenuse. You got to use the inverse. So what do you get for your answer? 77.3. And then the last one should have been tangent. You have opposite, which is 7, adjacent, which is 5. So if you do the inverse of 7/5, what do you get? 54.5. Easy. But nice, not too bad. Okay, let's go to the back. So because this isn't too bad and we're kind of like getting the hang of it, right? We're going to skip 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Let's go down to the word problems at the bottom. And then we're going to go do those double triangles. So down at the bottom, are just like the word problems that we were doing yesterday. Yesterday we spent doing word problems the whole time. So 17 says, so you basically have 2 options. You need to figure out, are you using inverse or are you doing regular trigonometry? So it says a ladder leaning against a wall makes an angle of 75 degrees. I'm given the angle. So is that the new stuff or is that the old stuff? That's the old stuff. So this is an old problem. Regular sine, cosine, tangent. So let's lean a ladder up against the wall. So here's my wall, I guess. My ladder. Okay. We all know it's going to make like a right triangle. Yeah. Yeah, just bring your phone. It makes a 75-degree angle with the ground. So where's that angle going? The bottom. So it always technically goes at the bottom. If the foot of the ladder is 6 feet from the base of the wall, what is the length of the ladder? So where should 6 go? The bottom, the base. And then it says, what's the length of the ladder? So where's X going? Hypotenuse. So that's your ladder. So we're going to do an old, just regular sine cosine problem. So if I'm 75, is a sine cosine tangent. Okay, so take a second, solve your problem. Easy peasy. Same thing since Monday. $23.2. So this one should have been a division problem because when you cross multiply, you're doing x times cosine of 75. So you have to do the extra step where you do division to both sides. Okay, let's do 18. 18 says Jaden is flying a kite. It lets out 275 feet long string. If the kite is 150 feet above the ground, assuming the string is straight, what is the angle that the string makes with the ground? So let's draw it out. Beautiful. Well, it's got 275 feet of string. That's a lot. I think, honestly, I don't really know how far kites go, but I feel like that's a lot. Okay, so where's 275 go? Hypotenuse, because that's string. Where's 150 go? The height, the side. And then where is my x going? On the inside in the bottom, because you're trying to find x degrees. You want to find angle. So this is a new problem using inverses. So this has opposite over hypotenuse. So this should be sine of x equals 150 over 275. And then in your calculator, you're just pressing the inverse button for sine. Bless you. So what's my angle? 33.1. Noise. 33.1 degrees. Okay. Now we're going to go up and we're going to do these crazy problems, and then you guys can start working on your classwork. These problems have 2 triangles in each problem. And they're touching. How cute of them. Okay. So let's start with 15. 15 wants me to find DE. Is that an angle or is that a side? That's a side. Okay, so we're trying to find the length. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to find. That's like my end goal. I need to find that thing. If I look at just that triangle, because that's what most of you are going to do, you're going to be like, okay, well, disregard that one. Let me look over here. I can't use this right away because I only have 19. This would be like my x that I have to find. But I don't have the other sides. So I can't use sine, cosine, tangent because I don't have enough information. So that's why the other triangle's there. So if I look at just the other triangle, I have that triangle. I have 61. I have 24. Where should I put an x to help me find another piece of the other triangle? Should I put it at CD or should I put it at the bottom? At the bottom, because this length, if I find that piece, which is the base of the first triangle, that's going to help me on the next triangle. So let's kind of pretend like that other one doesn't exist. So I have 61, x, 24. So is this sine, cosine, or tangent? This is tangent. So tan of 61. And then what's my fraction? X over 24. Okay, so is this a new problem or an old problem? Old. So put it over 1. Cross multiply. You're finding the distance, the length. What do I get for that piece? 43.3. So we're going to put that in our picture. 43.3. Okay, so now let's look at the other triangle. I have 43.3. I have 19 degrees. This is my new x. Okay, so let's call it y, I guess. Just so we don't have like multiple of the same variable, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I have 19, I have y, I have 43.3. So should I use sine, cosine, or tangent? It. So we're gonna use tangent again, ironically. Normally that doesn't happen, but it's okay. So we're gonna do tan of 19 this time. And then is my fraction 43.3 over y or y over 43.3? Y over 43.3. So same thing as last time, we're gonna put it over 1. Take a second, cross multiply. Not use that pen. Nope, not 15. 14, what? Nah. So DC, that length of DC is technically 14.9. Then we're gonna do 16 and that's it. So 16, same thing. You have two triangles switched together. What it says find, what does this mean? The angle of W. So the measure of angle W. So this time I'm finding an angle. So I'm gonna have to use an inverse at some point. So I have angle W. So let's put this here. This is what I'm trying to find. I have my little question mark. Okay. So if I'm trying to find that, I can look there. If that's your first instinct is to look there. You have a 22 and a question mark. Okay. You don't have enough information. So we have to use the other triangle first. So let's up over here. Where would it make sense for me to put an X that will help me on the other triangle? The hypotenuse. So this side right here, the ZZ or XZ, sorry, this is XZ. I'm going to put an X there because that's going to help me for both triangles. So if I have this, is that sine, cosine, or tangent? Nope. This is sine. So you have opposite and you have hypotenuse. So we're going to say sine 25 equals 15 over x. We're going to find that missing length. So this is an old problem. You put it over 1, cross multiply. And I'm going to divide because I have to get x by itself. So what do I get for that? Like 35.5. So 35 can go, 35.5 can go here. Now we're going to use that and my 22 and my little question mark to set up the other side. So if I'm W, I have to find W. This would be tangent. So I'm going to do tan. I don't know the angle. So this could be your X. I'm going to say W because it's an angle anyways, but you can put an X there. That's fine. So we're doing tan W equals 35.5 over 22. Then you got to get the angle. So this is the new part where you're going to take the inverse instead of doing the cross multiplication because you're trying to find the angle. I know math is so funny. What do you there? What? 92? 58.2. In your, okay, listen, we're doing 35.5. We're dividing by 22. Oh, wait. 35.5. And you're dividing by 22. Press equals. You get this crazy nonsense. Yeah. Then you're pressing tangent. So shift tan. You probably forgot to press shift. No, because then it gets 0 or something. Okay. So the rest of the ones on this paper you're not doing. Okay, we crossed them out. You're gonna start working on your classwork paper, which your classwork paper is number 102.
Gosh, you're funny. So we're doing
102.
7 through 10 too.
Huh?
We're just doing 10 through 10.
No, you should have did that in the beginning of class. That was your bell work.
Okay.
That's how like TSPM.
No, everybody's done them all day. They've been doing fine.
That's how like
And you guys are my smart class, so you guys got this.
that's how like TSPMO.
Yeah.